talk about?
Who's,
He left the door.
did you, that, PDF you sent with the, state law, did you send that to everybody or just us?
I sent it to Neil, hoping he didn't send it out to everybody. Well, I sent everybody on the committee and CC Neil with it.
Who put that in?
I got that from the Attorney General's office, the Law Enforcement
Attorney
Liaison
General's
section.
got a new PDF now that kind of outlines all the property and evidence laws for the state. And it's really, maybe we need to find out how to put that on our,
Do you remember what it was called?
I
The
called
name of-
the AG's office, Law Enforcement Liaison section, and they emailed it to me.
Okay.
Yeah, they just updated it since 2004.
Yeah, it was like 2 months ago, I think.
I think it's out there on our webpage, because I just printed off the new one.
Okay. So everybody look for that because it's really helpful. And it, like I said, it outlines all the laws, the DNA, everything. So,
Use my phone so we get it recorded.
okay. Sorry about that. I don't know. Is it on?
I CC'd it to Neil, so Neil could probably email it to everybody, really.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to throw that out to kind of get the discussion going. Anybody else having problems with any laws? Because we're working, we're working to try to get some of them changed. So maybe this would be a good time to get it done. Go ahead.
I'm still having problems with the guns, the old guns that we had in before September 2013.
Right.
So if it's no disposition on the guns, we have to follow the new law.
My understanding was that there, in Mecklenburg County, there was no court order. We hadn't gotten a court order from Mecklenburg County. We go and we get a court order from the judge to sign off on it. And any gun that we hadn't done at that point is subject to the new law.
Right. But the thing is sometimes they will do a disposition and it's in the file. If you go get that, then that's a pre-existing disposition. Then you go by the old law.
In AOC.
Right. And go to the clerk of court's office, because sometimes it's not even in AOC, and you go to the clerk of court's office and they may be an order already existing in there. Yeah, it's a tough thing to do, but it's easier to get it if it's already existing. And that's the order you want to follow,
Right.
instead of trying to write a new one.
You're right.
On the gun law, I'm just interested in what everyone's doing with the gun laws from Charlotte. And of course, not enough quickly on us because our chief has took the stance that he's not selling guns. So
Right.
I just know that other people are taking that stance.
I
I'm
think,
from Durham.
Hang on.
oh,
We want this recorded.
We trade ours a lot.
As far as the law, we spray about 2,000 guns a year. And we take in that
are you sheriff or
CMP.
CMPD? Okay.
Pretty, our major, one of our major banks in there, with the gentleman who there recently got passed, and there's not a lot of hope in, we went to a lot of them, and
Yeah, there.
I think our biggest thing was just the whole, what that gun that someone committed suicide with, you know, that gun
Right.
that murdered somebody, and that's disposed of.
Right.
And so,
That's why I was kind of hoping Mr. Rogers would be here, because he's got some insightful ideas about how to get rid of guns.
we explored the idea of companies out there that will dismantle them and then sell parts or something like that, but then we pursue it further. You know, I know we would sell the gun, they dismantle it. So,
Right. And I know he's out in the hallway, and I don't know if he's going to be speaking, but Lawman's, we met with Lawman's, and they offered to do that. That if you're really opposed to reselling guns, they will take them and part them out and just sell the parts, not necessarily just here, but elsewhere in the United States. So that would be an alternative, and they'll give you a letter showing that it was destroyed, or at least the receiver part of it.
That's what we gotta do, Tim.
Right. Do they? Oh, he heard me. So there are some options, but I think from what we found out, pretty much that's what they're talking about, is they're definitely wanting the gun sold because they're trying to get this money back into the system to help law enforcement.
It's recorded.
Okay. Well, nothing new since I've talked to you guys. Nothing new since I've talked to you guys last time. I guess the only thing I would really do is open it up to questions, and I may not have answers right this minute, but there's things I could bring back and get answered for you. Anything new? Any questions, concerns about doing the trade-ins?
I think they were talking about each assembly line.
Okay.
Do that and then sell the parts.
We can do that. Now, it's a little more intensive. If you wanted to do a disassembly project, we would come out on site, disassemble the guns, and leave you only the receiver. Okay, that would be the serialized part that is considered the firearm. With that, you're going to get, a considerably less amount of money, but it's not negligible. I mean, it's still worth doing, but it's a little more time consuming, but it's something we can do. Just again, a lot of this stuff, folks, is case by case. I've got a ton of business cards out there. Just let me know, hey, here's our situation. Because I'm telling you, of all the agencies we do, and we do a tremendous amount, every single one is different. It's all case by case. Questions?
We are working with the legislature now about making some changes to the law. We kind of got a little bit of an outline, but kind of like you said, they're definitely wanting the guns sold and not destroyed. In fact, I think that's what it was called, was Save the Gun Act, and it did start in Mecklenburg County, right? I think one of the one of the senators over there is the one that started, but
I forget where he's from. He wasn't from Mecklenburg County. The gentleman that introduced the bill wasn't from.
okay, maybe Rowan. I know it was somewhere in this region here. Trying to think, but we're trying to change the parts of the law that we can to try to make it better for us. And I know one of the big things for me was being able to advertise online without having to go out to the newspaper and run an ad in the newspaper and all this, which saves a lot of money and time if you just advertise it on your website. So, yeah, we're still working on that, and we're going to talk about that later. Yeah. Okay.
I have a question, because the order says that if they don't have a serial number, we can't trade or sell them. What about these antique guns that weren't serialized when they were manufactured? They're really nice guns, they've been well taken care of. I wonder if there's any way we could get that changed if the gun was manufactured before a certain date, it doesn't have to have a serial number.
If you think about the criteria for it is like the ATF. If the ATF says it's something that can be sold because it was not required, it was produced not prior to '68, then you could probably sell it. But I would definitely have that in the order if that's what you're wanting to do with it. Now, I don't think you'll have a problem destroying it because it doesn't have a serial number.
But the AFC, Form 128, is it 218?
Yeah.
For the guns. It says, if A and B or 7 and 8 are not shipped,
Gotcha.
you cannot sell it.
Plus, if the judge signs it, says it's to be destroyed, then no.
And ours are pretty good to work with us, our judges are. But if we don't check the block that it has a serial number, then they're not going to sign it. So is there any way we can, since y'all are legislative, talk to people about
So we need something that says maybe this gun is an antique and is not required to have a serial number, whatever, it can be sold. But I think that was kind of the I'm just assuming this, that maybe that was the intent of the legislature is, look, as long as it's got a serial number and it's traceable, then we're going to resell it. But then if not, then we're not going to resell it.
I was just going to make a really small comment about that. We have run into that situation before. And on the technical side, a lot of times what you're seeing is older muzzle loaders, which are a lot of times I guess they don't have to, or they're not serialized. A suggestion I would make is if you want to, if you're interested, contact us and we can actually tell you, hey, this gun's worth a tremendous amount of money. And then what we can do is we can work with ATF if they're going to assign it a serial number, or if they're what they're going to do. Or we might be able to save you time and say, hey, it's not worth your time. What happens with those muzzle loaders is a lot of times folks, believe it or not, leave them loaded. And if you leave a muzzle loader loaded for a tremendous amount of time, it's worthless. It ends up eating all that powder and stuff, eats away at the barrel. So again, if you guys have stuff like that, let us know. We can come out on site and look at it and tell you what you have and what it's worth, if that helps any. So.
I don't remember if it was at this conference or some other conference. I know it was an ATF agent that talked about getting a serial number for a firearms. I mean, I guess that could always be a potential. You know, if the gun's worth a couple $1,000s, you can go through the ATF and apply for a serial number and then have it engraved on the gun, and then by law it would fit the description. Yeah, well, I guess it depends on how it's put on there. Surely you don't want to go out there with an 8-penny nail and scratch it in the stock, but if you have it engraved or stamped, and I think the agent that was talking about it is every field office actually has a set of metal stamps, and you can actually bring it there and they will stamp it into the gun for you. But you're talking about a hammer and nail, basically. Anything else? Anybody?
Speaking of ATF, I've tried to figure out exactly does everyone, I'm guessing we're have to, trying to record. We fill out an ATF trace form on every gun we take in. Is that common practice for everybody? So I've been trying to figure out in the 2 years I've been in this assignment what the benefit of that is.
I've been trying to figure that out as well.
Because, I mean, I know it's kind of like I think it's coming from the top down for me, just because the ATF says they want it. But it's, because you're not getting information like, oh, that gun was in California, then it was in Arizona, then it came to Charlotte. I mean, we use it to originate an owner to figure out if they were the registered owner, if they're the first person who bought it. But if they're not the first person who bought it, we're not getting the secondary or third, the trades or the trace. So I was just wondering if we were all in the same boat in regards to that.
Yeah,
We
that.
believe it's a waste of time because
Hang on a second.
About
Give her the microphone. We're trying to get everything recorded, so on the video.
About your experiences.
So Tim, if you work that side.
I don't want to type.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to talk in this.
Why not? Well, you really don't need it, but.
Yeah, see, we once a month, I can't talk in that. Once a month, we run all of ours, and we find about 3 or 4 guns that's been stolen that may have been put into DCI under like a different model number or the wrong serial number, and it will come back to us and have a name. So we'll run the owner that purchased the gun's name in our P2P system, and it will come up saying that they had a B&E to their house in 2011. Well, then we'll read that report, and it will say that this gun was stolen, but the serial number is just inaccurate. So it is a stolen gun.
Or there's no serial number, and we call the originating reporting agency to see if that victim ever got their gun back. And I had a couple cases with some pretty old guns where owners never recovered their guns, and turns out we had it because they were able to find their paperwork from where they bought it to prove that it was their gun.
There's a lot of good benefits for it. I think probably y'all just started PSN, right? Project Safe Neighborhood, where the feds come in and they have a big meeting with certain individuals in the community and tell them if you mess up, then we're going to send you to federal prison.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that gun tracing thing is actually a part of that PSN project, and it provides leads for the ATF for guns that come through. And, the benefits they're talking about is great. The other benefits is the fact that if we trace it and then it's returned to an owner for whatever reason, that trace that we do establishes that this was the person who was in possession of that firearm on this date, and this agency was the one that traced it.
Where do you get that information from? I mean, we don't have an interface to run that.
traces who bought the gun originally. If it was 20 years ago, then that's that's the
Right.
only information we get back.
Well, I mean, if you're going to use it for investigative purposes, you will have to go through ATF, and they work with you. Most of the agents, they work with you. You can ask them, has this gun ever been traced before? But if a good case in point for me, particularly now that we're reselling guns, I ran one, and it came back that it had been previously traced by Stanley County Sheriff's Office. And I called, because it tells you who traced it and the contact number and everything. And you call Stanley County Sheriff's Office and you say, hey, y'all ran this trace on this gun, what's the deal on it? And then they can pull up the incident that's involved with it and says, oh, well, we took this from this person at this time, and then it was returned. It establishes a place to start. I've had a lot that were ran by federal agencies, even all the way up like Washington, D.C., and you call them and they say, oh, yeah, that was part of an investigation in this. So it kind of gives you a gun history and why it's back out. And Stanley County's been selling guns for years, so they have a lot that you will get that says it was previously traced by them, but it's back on the street because they resell guns. So,
and you're
says
getting that information through your ATF?
through the ATF, yeah. When you run the trace, I'm sorry?
It'll come back and tell you how many times, if that gun's been traced
Yeah.
before.
And
Like
how
Tim
many
was saying,
times?
different agencies, no, I've had that happen several times.
Or if that person's been involved into a trace. Now, you was talking about filling out a form. Do you actually fill out a paper form and somebody else does the trace?
Well, they
Or-
enter it in, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
every officer has to fill out the form.
Right.
And when they turn the gun in, they have to turn the.
Do you have access to that system that you actually
We have one person that has access that enters all the traces.
Well, you need more people that has capabilities of doing that, because there's
I think we're missing a link somewhere. I mean,
yeah, there's
database.
I think it's called referral,